Journal. So you should have journal for Tuesday night, journal for last night, reading to somebody, or else reading to yourself. So journal. Open your books to page 30 and do 1 through 3. We will go over those shortly. And then please put your worksheet that you got, the reproduction worksheet, put that on top of your desk so I can stamp it. And then you should get 3 note sheets from the back of the room. Okay, number 1 reads, what are hormones? Okay, so who found the definition of hormone? Okay, who found it from the book and has the word? Maddie. Yep. They're the chemicals that are found in the glands that regulate how our body functions. Okay, number 2. What does the endocrine system do? Tyler. No, does not reproduce. Regulates body functions. The reproduction system is the one that reproduces. Number 3. What is diabetes? Sam. Right, and specifically, what is the hormone that it's supposed to release that it doesn't? Insulin. And then insulin regulates what in our body? Sugar. Okay? That might be it, or sometimes it produces insulin, but our body doesn't use the insulin. Okay, get out the green worksheet. Insulin goes into your bloodstream. Well, sometimes you have too little. If you don't use it, then you have too much, and it's just not right. It's like you have to have that right balance. Okay, we're going to go through the quiz. Those of you that didn't get it done, when we get, and you didn't get a sticker, okay, turn it in. All right, number 1, pair of glands that produce sperm are the testes. Okay, circle number 1 and circle number 2. Number 2, blank are the male reproductive cells. Sperm. That more than Bo can answer here. Number 3, circle the word ovulation. Okay. Ovulation is the release of 1 mature what? Egg each month. Okay, blank are stored in the epididymis, a network of tubes located behind the testes. And that is, everybody? Sperm. All right, circle the word epididymis. It's after, find it. I read it to you. Okay, number 5, circle number 5. Blank usually lasts from 5 to 7 days and happens about every 28 days. Menstruation. 6, the joining of the female's egg cell and the male's sperm is called? Fertilization. Circle number 5 and number 6 if you haven't already. 7, after menstruation, the cycle begins again and the lining of the uterus begins to thicken again. 8, a fertilized egg becomes implanted in the lining of the uterus. I gave you the answer. There you go. Okay, so 8 is fertilized egg. Number 9, circle 9 and 10. Nope. The most common problem of the endocrine gland is diabetes. Endocrine system is diabetes. A blank is a group of cells or an organ that secretes a substance. Gland. 10 is gland. Okay, in number 11, circle pituitary gland. The pituitary gland signals other glands to produce blank. Hormones when needed. What was the nickname that the pituitary gland gets? Because it's in charge of everything. Kyla, yep, master gland. Okay, in number 12, circle thyroid gland and circle metabolism. When the thyroid gland does not make enough hormones to what? Regulate the metabolism, a person can develop hypothyroidism or no. Okay, we have the true and false. 13, abstinence from sexual activity protects teens against STDs and unplanned pregnancies. What is that? True. 13, the chemicals secreted by the endocrine glands are called adrenalins. False, they're not called adrenals. They're called hormones. Adrenals, that should be. 15, the pituitary gland regulates the rate at which cells burn fuels from food to produce energy. False, what gland does that? Thyroid. 16, a hernia occurs when an internal organ pushes against or through the surrounding cavity wall. True. Okay, now circle 17, 18, 19, and 20. 17, the endocrine system is a system of glands throughout the body that regulates body functions. True. Thyroid disease occurs when the body does not produce enough of the hormones called insulin. False. It's not thyroid, it is type 1 diabetes. Okay, to be more specific, it's type 1. Urine and semen leave the body at different times through the prostate gland. False. It's not prostate gland, it is urethra. Okay. 20, menstruation is the release of one mature egg cell each month. No, that's false. Ovulation. Okay, so if you didn't get it done and now you have it done, put it in my box back there. And get out the sheet that says notes and has blanks. If you got the sticker on, you don't need to turn it in. Those are things that you need to know for the test. Okay. So we all get a little wigged out when we talk about the reproductive system because we don't like saying these words, but they're just like any other organ in your body. So you guys can say kidney, right? Say kidney. You can say stomach. You guys can say the duodenum. Duodenum, that's part of your large intestine. All right. You can say brain. All right. All of these things, and we have female reproductive organs and we have male reproductive organs and cells. All right, and we get wigged out because we're kind of told that they're different. We maybe should be ashamed or embarrassed to say them, but all they are just different organs or different body parts. Okay, these are the ones right here for the female that you are going to need to know, and they will be on the test in some way, shape, or form. And you're going to have to either identify the word or be able to identify the definition and tell me what the word is. So the first one is vagina. It is simply just the birth canal. It's a passageway that extends from the uterus to the outside of the body. It's a passageway for sperm into the uterus, and it's a passageway for the baby when you give birth to come out. Okay? And it says it's muscular and elastic. And I want you to think of that. So think of, how many of you know how big you were when you were born? How many pounds, how long you were? Okay. So I want you to imagine that this thing is not elastic. The vagina is not elastic, meaning it doesn't expand. How painful would that be? Would birthing maybe wouldn't even happen that way because you need to be able to expand. You got a head and shoulders and a butt that has to come out through a small, tiny opening. Okay, so these organs in the female have to, especially the vagina, if you guys go down here, and the uterus, they're muscular and they can expand, which is, in order for us to be able to reproduce as a human species, those things need to happen. Okay? Urethra and urinary bladder. Both males and females have them because we both need to urinate. We both need to go to the bathroom. We have the urinary bladder, which holds our what? Urine. And I believe it says is that it stores urine until ready to leave the body. It's muscular because you can contract it. All right, you can control it. The urethra, it's simply a tube in which urine leaves the body. Males have it, females have it. The only difference is males' urethra is actually outside the body, and it's housed by the penis. All right, so it just like imagine like if your kidney like was outside your body, or imagine like your ureter, which is part of your kidney, is outside the body, or your vessels were outside the body. We'd want them to be covered. Okay. The next one we have is cervix. The lower part of the uterus, it's the opening to the vagina. All right, how many of you have ever heard of cervical cancer? Something that is a cancer that females may get. I had a friend of mine from high school, young, in her 20s, she had cervical cancer. All right, she beat it, it's fine, but it is a cancer that young ladies, older ladies can get. All right, uterus, another name for it is what, everybody? The womb. Small, muscular, pear-shaped organ. Okay, size of the what does it say? Fist. So look at your fist, right? When somebody is not pregnant, this is roughly about the size of their uterus. Now, when they are pregnant, this is where the baby grows and develops. Okay, this is where the fetus grows and develops. Right now, Mrs. Nygaard is about 37 weeks, so she's about 3 weeks from delivering, or she could deliver tomorrow for all we know. All right, her baby is somewhere probably between 18 to 20 inches. So I want to, right now, this is 20 inches. This is about how long my kids were. Well, actually, they were 19, I think. All right, so hold this up and look at this. Then I want you to think, how many of you guys weighed between 6, 7 pounds? How many of you are like 10 pounds, 9, 10 pounds? Okay, now so I want you to think of this. All is curled up inside of this. Okay, so the uterus is amazing. It can expand, and now here's the other thing. It can hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It can hold that many fetuses. Okay, so think of twins, think of triplets, okay, quadruplets. All right. I also, yeah, and you know what? The one thing is a lot of those, multiple, if you have multiple births, a lot of those don't get to be maybe 19 inches. Some of them are, they come out 5 pounds, 18 inches. That's a nice size baby. All right, some of them are smaller. Okay, but at the same time, I know Mrs. Winkleman's daughter, Katie, 24 inches, I think it was 10 to 11 pounds. Okay, so that's 2 feet. That's 2 feet inside of somebody. That started out to be what size? That's how, when they measure them, and when they measure a baby, you guys, I watched them measure Maya one time, and I'm like, they measured her, and she was longer at birth than she was the next time she measured her. So it's just, sometimes I think it's just like a crapshoot. They put them on the table, and the baby's head is supposed to be here, and then they try to pull their feet out without having their head move and slide. And maybe it's a little bit more scientific now, but the weighing part is pretty specific. They put them on a digital scale. But the whole length thing, I kind of chuckled because the next time I took Maya and she was shorter than she was at birth, or and I'm like, you would expect them to maybe be what? Longer than they were, yeah, but anyway. Okay, ovary. It says a female sex gland. It houses the ova, which is another name for the ova. An easier name that we call it is what? Starts with an E. Egg. All right, and produces the female sex hormone. So above ova, you maybe want to write egg. All right, or you can actually write it down here. Here's the. All right, female sex hormones behind here. How many have heard of progesterone or estrogen? Bad. I'm not very good at writing on the board. Progesterone or estrogen. How many have heard of those terms? Okay, those are hormones. So remember we talked about the pituitary gland? Pituitary gland tells your ovaries, hey, I need you to secrete a chemical, and that chemical or hormone is going to be progesterone and estrogen. Okay, those are some things that are going on. And those things don't happen until you become 10, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. That's when that starts to happen for the female. Okay, the ovary, I don't know if you guys can see this, it's about the size of a, what's this thing I'm holding? Almond, yes, about the size of an almond. Okay, so this is about the size of an ovary. All right, in class, this is what I use to demonstrate, like, for the ovary. All right, fallopian tube, it's a pair of tubes with finger-like projections that draw the ova in, so draw the egg in, and they transport the egg from the ovum, or the ovary, to the uterus. So if let's pretend here is the ovary, my hand right now and my arm are the fallopian tubes, and this is what the fallopian tube just has little finger-like projections that are just floating around. Once a month when the egg is released, it floats it or sucks it up, and then it floats down the fallopian tube. And if it doesn't get fertilized, it goes into the uterus, and my trunk would be the uterus. Okay? If it's not fertilized in the uterus once a month, the uterus says, hey, this isn't fertilized, I got to get rid of it, sheds the lining of the uterus, sheds the egg, and that's menstruation. If it is fertilized, the fertilization occurs in the fallopian tube. So the sperm swims all the way up the vagina, the cervix, into the uterus, and swims all the way up and finds the egg in the fallopian tube. All right? And right away you are called, you're a blastocyte right away for like the first couple days. We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right, so these are the female body parts that you are, and organs that you will need to know. I need to erase. Okay, we go to the male. Okay, first one that sometimes makes us giggle is the word scrotum. Okay, scrotum is just a sac-like pouch. It's the skin that covers the testes because the testes are outside your body. Okay, and also because it covers the testes outside the body, it helps regulate the temperature of the testes. Okay, next word we have is testicle. That's a male sex gland. They house the sperm, so that's where the sperm are produced, and they produce a male sex hormone, which is what? Anybody want to take a guess? Male sex hormone. If the females have estrogen and progesterone, what do the males have? Testosterone. Okay? So once again, your pituitary gland, somewhere around the ages of now, 12, 13, 10, starts saying, hey, testes, we need you to start secreting some testosterone. All right? And you start going through the word puberty. Okay, so during puberty, that's when in males it's testosterone and females it's estrogen and progesterone that are being released to tell your body to start developing. Okay, and start getting ready to be able to reproduce. Okay, next big word here, this is what epididymis looks like. Remember, Ian, you asked? Epididymis, and I think I spelled it wrong. There needs to be another D in there. So it's located on top of each testis, and it stores the sperm until mature. So if this is the testis, it's like a little cap, the epididymis is, that sits on top of it. Sperm are produced in here, and then because they're not ready yet, just sometimes like guys aren't mature, gentlemen, I'm sorry, but you're not maybe mature, so you have to wait a little bit to become a little bit more mature. They get housed in the epididymis. So sperm are produced here, then they're stored in the epididymis a little bit longer until they're mature. Okay? But they have to get out of the epididymis eventually. So once again, there's another tube. And it's called, in the males, it's called the vas deferens. What was the tube called in the females? Starts with an F. Fallopian tube. In the males, it's called the vas deferens. It's a thick, long cord that runs from the epididymis to the scrotum. And somewhere magically in here, it gets called the urethra. The vas deferens turns into the urethra. Okay? So like, if this was the testes and this was the epididymis, my arm would be the vas deferens. Okay? There's 3 glands. Right, so these are the 3 glands right here. Okay, and they have very important jobs. It says add fluid, and you're like, big deal. All right, but these 3 glands add fluid to the sperm, and when they add that fluid to the sperm that's where it's called semen. All right, so they're the sperm in here, they're a sperm in the epididymis, but once they go past these 3 glands and the glands give them some fluid, then it becomes semen. Okay, what type of fluid? Very, very important fluids. One, all right, helps the sperm swim, keeps them mobile, allows them to be mobile. One lubricates the urethra, and one nourishes the sperm. All right, so you have nourishment, mobility, and lubrication. That's what those 3 do. So we've heard of one of those 3, probably more than the other 2. Which one? Prostate, because we hear of what? Prostate cancer. Just like you've probably heard of testicular cancer. All right. Those are the two male organs that a lot of times are associated with cancers. All right, if we back up to the female, we talked about cervix. How many of you ever heard of uterine cancer? Okay, ovarian cancer. Okay, so those are the organs in the female. A lot of times are associated with cancer. Okay, urethra, both males and females had it. Like it says, passageway that extends from the bladder to the tip of the penis, carries semen and urine to the outside of the body. So males, it has a dual purpose. All right, penis is a tube-shaped organ that houses the urethra. Once again, you have this tube that's hanging outside your body, and we don't want just some bare tube. We need to have something covering it, and it's muscular, and it's tube-shaped because your urethra is tube-shaped. Okay? All right, so let's see. Your prostate, the size of prostate is about the size of a walnut. All right, and when you guys, okay, next one, go to, look at your diagram. Okay, I'm going to go through the sizes when we get to the diagram. Let's go to the pathway. So flip it over and do the pathway of sperm and pathway of the ovum. Okay, first thing we have to start with is the testes. Testes produce the sperm. Epididymis, that little cap that's on top, little wig that's on top, that holds the sperm until they're mature. Right, then we have a tube because the sperm have to travel. And the tube's name is vas deferens. And I kind of think that the vas deferens is the name of some guy. And guess what that guy did? He discovered the tube. And he said, I'm going to name it, and it's going to get my last name. Yep, it's on the back side of notes. Well, yep, and you know what? I bet you Cowper is too, because I'm pretty sure that's the guy who said, there's these 3 glands, and I'm going to name this little P-shaped one Cowper's, because that's my last name. All right, so you have the testes, the epididymis, you have the tube that's a vas deferens, and then you have the 3 glands, seminal vesicle, prostate, and Cowper's, that produce those fluids that when they combine with the sperm, make the sperm semen now. Because it's not just sperm, there's sperm and some fluid. And those fluids make it mobile, help it to be mobile, help it to become, give it some nourishment, and then lubricate the urethra. And the last one is the urethra. It's a passageway for the sperm and the urine to go outside the body. I'm going to slide it up just a little bit. Is that okay? Okay, your ovum, the ovum. Okay, what's another word for the ovum? Starts with a vowel 2. It's 3 letters. 2 of them are the same. Egg. Okay. So your ovary, size of the walnut, releases. All right, actually it doesn't release. What's happening inside of here, inside of this little almond, is once every 28 days an egg matures. So beginning of 28 days, an egg starts maturing, and it keeps maturing and maturing. At the end of, let's say, whenever it's ready to be released, it is released. Okay? And then when it's developed and matured. And that's about once a month, and that's called what word here? Starts with an O. Ovulation. Okay? Not ovation, ovulation. What's the difference? What's a standing ovation? Applauding. Okay? This is ovulation. So when that egg is released, it's called ovulation. All right? Has to go travel. It has to get somewhere. So its tube is called the fallopian tube, and that's your fingers are doing this. Suck up the egg travels. All right? It travels to the uterus. Fertilization will occur in the fallopian tube if a sperm makes it there, is present and gets there. All right? And the sperm and the egg unite in the fallopian tube. When they unite, a zygote is formed, and that's when sperm and the ovum unite. The uterus is where that zygote will float, and it'll embed itself in the uterus, and that's where it grows until it becomes a fetus and what we call a baby. Okay, if fertilization does not occur, all right, this egg just travels down the fallopian tube, no sperm, no sperm, no sperm, gets to the uterus, says, all right, uterus goes, not fertilized, we need to get rid of it. Shed the lining of the uterus, okay, because the lining of the uterus isn't going to be used to start developing a baby. All right, they shed it and they shed the egg, and that's menstruation. All right, somebody said, why don't they just call it the period? Okay, it's the medical term. This is what it's called, menses or menstruation, right? Slang term, and we all know there's a lot of slang terms for a lot of these organs. All right, is the period. Okay, so you got your notes all taken, correct? Along with the notes from the lesson in the book. Now we have to do the diagrams. We have to start like showing the shape and where these things are located in your body. We're going to start female. I didn't write very good, so I would keep your notes out because my writing is atrocious on here. And the female is better than the male. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Uterus, cervix, vagina. Okay, remember uterus, size of your fist, the size of a pear. Cervix. All right, your cervix is about 2 to 3 centimeters long. So this area is about 2 to 3 centimeters long. So that's about this long. All right, its opening right here that you see when you're not dilated, when a female is not going to give birth, is less than a centimeter. It's, half a centimeter or whatever. Not even that. Okay? The cervix dilates and opens up to the birth canal, which is the vagina, when the female is ready to give birth. And it opens up to 10. That's when it's at 10, they say the female is fully dilated. So this is the hole, the size of the hole, all right, that head, shoulders, butt, legs comes out. Okay, that is, how many of you think that's pretty tiny? Right. And they said that this is a muscular shape, all right, because what happens when the mother is ready to give birth, she kind of knows because what starts happening. Starts with the C. Contractions, all right. So your uterine wall starts contracting and going, okay, I'm ready to push this baby out, and it's getting itself ready. It's telling the cervix, and then you better start dilating because this baby doesn't want to stay in here anymore. It wants to see what the world is like. All right, and so the cervix starts to dilate. When everything's ready, all right, the mother is going to feel the need to push, and that is just natural. The contractions, the uterus is contracting and helping to push that baby out. Okay, and like I said, it's pretty amazing that the uterus can grow and house a baby that is anywhere between 5 to 12 pounds and anywhere between 18 to 24 inches, and to hold more than what? 1. Okay? All right? And so that's what it looks like. And that's what it looks like from the front if you're going to saw some person in half from the front. All right, this is cutting them in half from the side, so it's called a cross section. All right, what you see here, 4 is pointing to the fallopian tube. All right, that's the little tube. And the fallopian tubes, you guys, are roughly about 0.2 to 0.6 centimeters in diameter. So let's say a half a centimeter in diameter. All right, and they are about 2 to 3 centimeters long. So this length right here is only 2 to 3 centimeters. All right, and do you see the finger-like projections that sweep this? They just sit and do this. Okay, that's what they're doing. Okay, right here you see the ovary, and what shape did we say that was? What nut? Not pear. Almond shaped. Yep. Okay. Here in the cross section, this is the uterus. So if you're going to cut it in half, you're going to cut your fist in half. That's what it looks like, the uterus. 7 is pointing to the cervix. 8 is pointing to your bladder. This is just the pubic bone, so this is just a bone. 10, this right here is the ureter, or urethra, I'm sorry, urethra. Didn't write that on there. Oh yeah, it's way over here. 10 is urethra. Okay, and 11 is pointing to the vagina, the birth canal. Okay, so on a diagram, that's what the parts that with the organs that we just talked about, that's what they look like. Okay, this says urinary bladder. Ooh. Okay, the urinary bladder, when it's empty, it's about the size of a pear again, which if you look at the shape of the two, size of the two, they're about the same. It can hold anywhere between 400 and 600 milliliters of fluid or of urine. And one thing about the egg or the ova, it is the largest cell in the body. So I guess that's kind of a cool fact. All right, males. So I think if you flip that sheet over, there's the males on the other side, right? All right, I'm going to try to write better on this one. Okay, number one, urinary bladder. Okay, number two, and I try to highlight it. You can, I don't know what your sheet looks like, but can you see a little, something that looks about like the length of a pinky? All right, right behind here, that's a seminal vesicle, and it is also right here. Do you guys see 14? All right, seminal vesicle. Oh boy. Okay, those are some of the, seminal vesicle is one of the glands. Okay, 3 is pointing to this tube. I highlighted it here. Where? Vas deferens? Nope, I'll rewrite this. Is that what you're talking about, Ian? Okay. Vas. Yep, 4 is crossed out, so that's the pubic bone. Okay, 3 is vas deferens. That's this tube. 4 is crossed out. 5 is a prostate gland. Here's the cross section. It's about the size of a walnut. 6 is a Cowper's gland, and that's about the size of a peanut, or not peanut, a pea. 7, urethra. 8, epididymis. E, P, then what? I, D, I, D. What? M, I, S, right? U, S? It is I, S. Okay, so 8 and 13 are the same thing. So this is also the epididymis. Okay. You can see all the tubes in here. The vas deferens, you guys, this is about 30 centimeters long, but it does have to travel a long way, and here it's kind of coiled up. 30 centimeters, the epididymis, or the vas deferens is that tube. Okay. Right. 8, 9 over here, this is the penis. So that's that muscular tube. Okay, 10, if we go over here, 10 is the testes. 10 is, yep. Now 11, you go back over here. I hate it because there's no really great rhyme or reason. 11 is the what? 11 and 1 are the same what? Urinary bladder. And then 12 is a sac that covers the testes, which would be the scrotum. Okay. So those are all the male and female reproductive organs and cells and hormones. All right. And where they're located. All right. And the pathway that they travel. The last thing that you guys have is you have that female-male worksheet. I think it's 14 questions. That's due tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to give you an extra credit vocabulary, so it's kind of all these vocab words that we've been talking about and definitions for extra credit. And Tuesday, for the test, I'm going to share with you today after school. You'll be getting, check your email, a Quizlet, 2 Quizlets. Okay? You don't have to do the Quizlets, but it'll be beneficial for you to study for your tests. Okay. Any questions?